This episode of After the Whistle contains profanity. Listener discretion advised. Please enjoy.
Welcome to episode 4 of After the... Is it 4?
It is 4.
Oh my
These things are
God.
flying right now.
Well, it's 4, but it's 6.
Yes.
That's confusing to people. We had a little surprise interview with Ruben Brown after the Monday Night Bills game, and then we had the pilot, which we didn't number. We called that the pilot, episode 1, 2, 3, and then we just did an unbelievable hour with Jeremy Roenick, and never disappoints. Unbelievable.
It's funny that after we just finished with JR, an incredible hour of conversation on so many topics, whether it's, Connor McDavid, is there going to be a 200-point player in the National Hockey League?
Ovi catching Gretzky.
Does he want Ovi to catch Gretzky? We talked Olympics. There's just so many stories in this segment. It was absolutely incredible. But what a personality this guy is. And the funny thing is, you mentioned in another episode with him that you had the ability to meet him, and he just makes you feel good,
Yeah.
And I can tell you this: the first time I ever met Jeremy Roenick was in Phoenix, where he lived at the time, and I had been with one of my buddies that I had played with, Brian Savage, and we went over to a PGA golfer's house, along with a few other PGA guys that were on the tour at the time. But we were at Pat Perez's house, and we drank and played poker and had a blast. And it was an incredible night, but it was late. We finished about 4:30 in the morning, and we had a tee off time at Brian Savage's golf course. And Jeremy Roenick is a member there too. And apparently all of the PGA Tour guys that live in Phoenix all belong to this course also. So Brian and I get to the course at about 8:00, and we're trying to get something down in our system because, I'm looking green like you wouldn't believe.
You need some grease in that stomach to absorb.
I need some grease, right?
Yeah.
And in walks JR, and I'm going to tell you, it was like seeing a superstar. Like for me, as a younger guy growing up playing in the NHL and watching the NHL before, Jeremy Roenick was, Sega Hockey 92, and he was a legend, right? Or was it 94? It was 94.
94.
And he was a legend. And, even when I was a kid, like you couldn't use Jeremy Roenick in Sega Hockey 94 because he was unstoppable. You just won every game with Chicago. But in walks JR. And I'm as green as what you can possibly imagine. And I noticed that it's 8:00 in the morning, and JR ordered 2 vodka sodas at 8:00 in the morning, and then walks over to the table and says hi to Brian Savage because he knows him. And he introduced me to JR, and I stood up and I shook his hand, and I was just like, wow, this is something special. I'm trying to keep my composure and
year
my
is
coolness.
this? Just to put a date on it.
Oh, so it would have been the year. This would have been the year before JR came to San Jose, because when I had met JR, I think it was 2006.
So he's already done his JR thing in the league. He's JR.
He's JR. He's super JR. And I meet him, and he was telling me, he's like, I just finished the playoffs with the San Jose Sharks and flew over to Phoenix to meet my buddy Brian Savage, and we went golfing and stuff. And Jeremy Roenick was critiquing my playoffs and saying how impressed he was with my this game and that game, and I scored a goal here and I did this, and I could not believe it. And I met him. I said, thank you very much. It was complete. I didn't say it was an honor or anything. I didn't want to go over that, but I just said thank you very much, and I walked away with an impression of this guy that what an incredible human being. And the funny thing is, the very next year, JR signed with the San Jose Sharks. So I got to play a full year with Jeremy Roenick, and what a treat it was, because I'm going to tell you, you play with a lot of players in the league, and there's guys that that stick in your mind, okay? And he is absolutely one of them. He was one of the greatest players that I've ever played with.
He's one of the greatest interviews, and we just had an unbelievable hour with him. And I don't want to add any more to your story. I just want everyone to go inside and enjoy lots and lots of different topics. No Sabres, though. Should we talk a little Sabres now? They won last night against Tampa Bay. I said they're going to win the Cup on Twitter. I'll just tell you, can I just I put one tweet out there that actually you recognized. I didn't realize what kind of traction it was getting, and I believe this. So can I say this before we go?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because a lot of our audience are Buffalo fans. So
I feel uncomfortable. I feel uncomfortable right now that, we're in a situation that we're talking positive all the time about the Sabres. We haven't talked positive about the Sabres, and
well, I can tell you in the last 5 years or 10 years, I never would have written this. Okay.
Would you write?
One I wrote was kind of fun. They were winning against Tampa, and I wrote Buffalo's going to win the Cup. Okay, well, whatever. But I wrote at the end of the night after the game, start going to games and supporting this new team. These guys deserve it for the first time in a decade. And a lot of people have agreed. A lot of people
deserve it for the first time in a decade. And I'm going to tell you,
their effort deserves support even when losing. And I would never say that in the last 5 years. It's been disgusting the last 5-10 years.
Well, it's amazing how things trickle down. Because I do believe that it starts with the upper management. I think Kevin Adams has a vision, and he's trying to create that vision. He's a player in this league that has played a very long time himself. He's been through ups and downs, but he also knows how to win. He was on a Stanley Cup winning team with incredible hockey players, the Rod Brennamores, the Ron Francis, you name it, the Mark Reckies, the Doug Waits. He played with some incredible players. He knows what it's like to be in a locker room that cares about each other, okay? That cares more about the win than it does about the individual success. And it seems right now that this team that Kevin Adams has assembled and that Don Granato is coaching and implementing his system and his standard in which they do things each and every day. And at the same time, these players seem like they're sponges to what's going on right now. And do I think it's going to be a full 82 games like this? I don't think it is. I think this team's going to go through some hard times. I think they're going to hit some speed bumps. But I'm going to tell you this. It is very pleasing to watch this team play, and it only starts with one thing, and that's how hard they work and they care for each other. And I'm going to tell you, I said this to you before, Petey, before we went on today. Buffalo Sabres were winning 4-1 at the time.
I was just going to say,
Tampa Bay.
There's an example that you told me about before.
Go ahead.
Like
you want to say it?
I want you to say it, but
okay.
I'm just glad you remembered it because I'm sitting here saying, please finish with the point.
Because this thing sticks out to me like a sore thumb.
Yes, and that's why I wanted you to say it.
We're a 4-1 hockey game against a Stanley Cup championship team that is loaded with star players. And the Buffalo Sabres played for one another. They played their system. They defended exceptionally well. They're getting great goaltending. The defense, I thought played very well. But there's a point in this game that really sticks out to me. And that's when the Tampa Bay Lightning pulled their goaltender. And they were trying to score that goal to try and get themselves back in the game. Tage Thompson stole a puck. He moved that puck to Rasmus Asplund, where Rasmus Asplund had the time and the opportunity to shoot that puck in the net himself. Rasmus Asplund could have scored that goal himself, but he decided that he wanted to share the wealth. He wanted to give that opportunity, so he feathered a pass across the ice to an open man, Victor Olofsson, and Victor Olofsson snapped that puck in the net. And I sit there and I say to myself, this is what puts a smile on my face as a former professional hockey player. When I see things like this is what matters. It's not about an individual statistic. it is about a team statistic. It's about sharing the wealth. It's about doing things right, and you will be rewarded in so many more ways because you care about each other. And I was very impressed with the Rasmus Aspen play, and I think the beneficiary is his good buddy Victor Olsen, who snapped that puck in for a 5-1 goal.
There's no question the team just has a different energy to it, different attitude to it. And I also sent out a Twitter poll today about the Sabres, just saying, what's been the difference in the Sabres? Has it been no Jack, no Risto, no Sam, or Don Granato? I haven't actually checked the polls in a while. Do you want me to tell you how they're doing, and then we'll get out of here?
Yeah, I'd be interested to know, because I know I voted on it.
What did you vote? I said, so right now it's at 1,700 votes, and it has Don Granato, 77%. No Jack is 13%. No Sam, 1%, and then Risto is 9%.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think Don Granato
Interesting.
deserves a lot of it.
I picked Don Granato. It's 100,000%. It's what he's implementing. It's the environment that he's implementing. It's the fresh start that he's giving each and every one of these players, whether it's the younger players that are going to earn opportunity and ice time, or is it older statesmen, okay, guys like Gergensen and players like Kyle Poso. These players are playing absolutely fantastic right now, but there's also another group of players that have been brought in that maybe had struggles on other teams and other organizations. The Vinny Hinostroza, did you see the goal? He absolutely missiled in the top shelf. It was incredible goal. And I look at the energy of Vinny Hinostroza. I look at an incredible goal, huge goal by Jake Kajula, who busted down, picked up the puck, went on a breakaway, made an incredible move on the goaltender and buried one. I look at these things. I look at Hag.
Oh, stop. I was just going to say, how have you been thinking about Bob Hag?
But listen, I'm going to tell you, you have to give credit to Hag, but also Mark Pysyk.
Yeah. These
two guys played together last night, okay? And they had to play most of their shifts against the heavy lines, the big lines, the Point, the Stamkos. They were killing penalties, and they did a noticeably incredible job. They played within themselves. Like, they're not the most skilled guys. It's not like they're the Rasmus Dahlins of the world, but they played within their limitations, and they were absolutely fantastic. And Hag was rewarded. You know, he was on the ice at the end of the game when they pulled a goaltender, and he ended up shooting one down into the net and, you know, getting that first goal as a Sabre. Well done for him, because he really played well, and so did Mark Pysyk.
Well, that was our Sabre talk for today, because inside the hour with JR, we didn't talk about the Sabres per his request. We talked about Jack last week. Yep. We talked about Jack in the last pod with Elliot about the grievance. So we'll keep an eye on that when we have our next one in a couple days. Enjoy, and you know where to find us. You know, Craig and I were just talking before you came on. I've always wanted to know, who was your favorite player growing up?
Rick Middleton. Nifty. Yeah, being a Boston kid, you know, back in the 70s, early 80s, he was the best, flying around there. You know, that when no helmets back then, I just love that. So Rick Middleton was my favorite.
And then, so like absolute favorite, like no questions asked, number one, nobody else. Is there anyone else that you enjoyed maybe watching other than him growing up?
I mean, obviously I love the game, loved watching, you know, different players, but he was the guy that always caught my eye. He was the guy that was the one that I kind of I guess was who I am, tried to play like, right? I wanted to be like him. So
you wanted to emulate
anybody else. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Rick Middleton. Interesting.
What about you, Petey?
Well, why do you ask?
Pretty simple question.
Well, because like JR admires this guy, and then he ends up, would you say you were probably, be honest, a better player than Rick Middleton?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So yes. JR ends up becoming a better player than Rick Middleton. So I was my favorite player was Mario Lemieux. I tried to emulate Mario Lemieux, and it only worked up until I was about 14. And then after that, there were always guys that were, maybe not as tall as I was, but stronger. And there's always guys that were more willing to be more physical, even if you played physical. So that got shut down real hard. And then it became a Darren McCarty. Then Darren McCarty became one of my favorite players.
I love Darren as one of the best guys ever. He's a good friend of mine. I love Darren.
I love that goal he scored in the playoffs against Philadelphia.
Yeah, Philadelphia, sick. Sick.
He won my heart that year, and he's tough as nails. And I think even now, after hockey, being open about his issues and his book and his problems, it makes you love the guy even more. So I think
he's awesome. He's awesome.
Yeah.
I love him.
He's the ultimate team player, right? So, when I was playing, I'll give you my one Darren McCarty story. I played for the Kingston Frontenacs in the OHL, and right up the road was the Belleville Bulls. They were 45 minutes up the road. A huge rival, these two teams. There was hatred beyond hatred for years. Mm-hmm. We're playing in the big Belleville arena, and it was an awesome arena. And things got a little out of hand. And third period, I ended up getting in a fight, not to my wanting. I dropped the gloves with Darren McCarty, and at that time, he was undisputed heavyweight in the OHL. I was 17 years old. He was 19. Well, he threw about 40 punches and did no damage in these 40 punches, but fed me my lunch like something fierce. I was as scared as you can possibly imagine. But let me tell you, when you're scared, you throw one to the rafters and you hope it hits.
Yeah.
Well, I threw a punch and I did not know where it was going, but I hit him right in the visor, and the visor cut his face.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah. I was doing the belt thing, going to the box, and he lost his marbles.
You could get murdered in a fight, but if he's the only one bleeding, that's the best.
I was 17 years old. I was so stupid, and I did the belt thing in Belleville. The crowd was going nuts. Lost his marbles so bad in the box, trying to jump over the box where the scorekeepers were, that he ended up getting kicked out of the game. And I'm like,
thank God.
Thank the Lord, right? Because now that the emotion, I'm sitting in the box and I actually thought about what I did. I'm like, that could have been the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. But anyway, at the end of that game, we had Chris Gratton, who was our first rounder at the time. He was a 16-year-old kid. He was 6'3". He was 215 pounds, and he ended up laying out Brent Gretzky. There was immediately, once he went down, there was a brawl. I mean, guys jumped the boards from Belleville. We had our coach yelling at us, get over the boards. It was my first bench clearing brawl. I skate out onto the ice, and I grab my first guy. I don't even know this. I think his last name was Bailey, and he was a 6'5", 230-pound defenseman. And I'm thinking to myself, how is the guy that I grab? I cannot believe this. And now I've got him in the clinches of life. Like, I am not letting this guy go. And he's
hold on for dear life, man.
Greg Bailey, 6'4", 230.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord. Anyway, I'm grabbing on this guy. I'm cutting off circulation in his arms with his sweater because I'm so scared. And he looks at me, and there's fights everywhere. It was a melee. He looks at me and says, "You're going to go one way and I'm going to go the other." And I looked at him and I said, "Are you serious?" He goes, "Yes." So I let him go. And he skated one way and just started suckering guys on our team. And I went down to the other end, and I went in to help out our captain, Dave Stewart, at the time, who was going a 3-on-1. Okay. And we got caught up against the boards, and my captain says to me, he looks over and he says, "Just put your head down and throw." And I just sat there and threw haymakers, not like in the air. I was so scared. But at the end of this game, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, no more hitting, no more belt stuff with showing off to Darren McCarty.
You scared the shit out of a 6'4", 230-pound guy by knocking.
That's how I interpret
by blooding up. Yeah.
Because I'm looking at Greg Bailey right now. He had 50 games in the OHL that year, only 36 pims.
I want no part. I don't want part.
I don't think he wanted a piece of you, Riv.
I was a fiery little guy. Listen, I mean, at that time at 17, I was 6'1" and I weighed 167 pounds. I was like wafer thin, and I'm grabbing this guy who's 230, 6'4", 6'5". And guess what? I mean, push comes to shove. If we were going, we were going to go, and I was going to try and bite his ankles or whatever needs to happen. I would gouge. You want to know the difference between defensemen and forwards? I'm going to tell you, Mike Bunch clearing brawl in Minnesota. This was before they had referees that came out for warmups to watch and make sure that everything was okay in warmups. Yeah. Well, Basil McRae hit Wayne Van Dorp as they went across the red line. Basil McRae came over the red line and clipped Van Dorp. Well, it became a melee, 20-on-20 during warmups. This is in the old Met Center in Minnesota, and I'm 20 years old. And my shit in my pants because there's gloves everywhere, punches everywhere. Now, you were 160 pounds. I was 158, okay, 160 at the time. So I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do? I'm like, what? So I immediately skate right to Mike Modano. And I grab Mike Modano, and Mike Modano goes, "Oh, thank God I found you, man. Let's just creep over to the corner and just watch this shit show and pretend that we're wrestling." So Mike Modano are over there, like, pushing each other, and like, "All right, keep pushing. Pretend we're going to stay away from all these people. We're going to get knocked out." So Mike Modano and I avoided what could have been a career-ending melee and warm-ups. But
God, hey, Riv, it was nice to be a star, hey?
Right. It's nice to be smart enough to find the star, and then to go, let's go figure skate into the corner there. And
that was sheer fear, man. That was sheer fear. Where's Mike Modano? Mike? Where are you?
Yeah. Awful, an awful feeling. And thank God, we don't see that anymore because it. Not good times, but
I agree with
better times ahead in these leagues. Now it's just there's so much skill. It's a different brand of hockey, and we're much better off.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, JR, because I think one of the biggest stories in hockey, and we haven't actually had any conversations with you about this in the last year and a half or so, is Alex Ovechkin and the Wayne Gretzky record. He scored 2 more last night. He is absolutely on fire. And I guess I have 2 questions for you. One, and you can answer them however you want. Will he do it? But number 2, do you want him to pass Wayne Gretzky's record?
Well, I think that's a both of those are great questions. I watched social media when Patrick Marleau passed Gordie Howe's playing record. And as great of an accomplishment that is to play that long and to play that many games, there were a lot of people that were pissed off that Patrick Marleau passed Gordie Howe. Like, show some respect to the Mr. Hockey, right? Let him keep it, which I didn't really agree with. I think records are meant to be broken, and I think it's a good way to celebrate the game when records are broken. So when Marleau passed Gordie Howe, I thought that was great. I mean, it was an amazing accomplishment. Do you want a guy like Gretzky to relinquish probably the greatest record in the history of hockey? I can tell you, every Canadian is going to say absolutely not. They are rooting against Alex Ovechkin to break
not
Gretzky's
this
record.
Canadian, JR.
Well,
not
good for
Canadian.
you, Riv.
I'm going to tell you, from the moment.
Tell me why, because Gretz is like the ultimate hockey ambassador, and has done more for hockey than anybody on the planet.
Yes.
And Alex Ovechkin is a Russian, has not really done as much for hockey, especially here in North America. So why would you want somebody like that to break your home country's superheroes record?
Yeah, it's
Do tell.
well, when you say it like that. Thanks, JR, for leading that up. And let me take a second here. I might have to revamp my answer, but
Citizenship about to be revoked. I bet you. You know what though, Rev? I bet you Putin will call and he'll give you a Russian citizenship.
yeah. Well, listen, I'm going to tell you
just for siding with Ovi.
Yeah, I highly respect the way Alex Ovechkin has played his entire career in the National Hockey League. This young man came into the league. He was drafted first overall. He put up, I think it was 52 goals in his first year, 108 points. And this young man's longevity, I think he's 35 years old right now. And you would think at some point in time, you have to slow down. The body starts to break down. The mental fatigue of playing in a league this long with the pressures that these elite players have each and every night starts to wear on you. And I look at Alex Ovechkin and you look at what he has done. His worst year in the National Hockey League was 33 goals. 33 goals. This young man, I shouldn't say young man, he's a young man to us, but this player at age 35 has 7 goals in 6 games. He's 35 years old. I just look at the consistency and how he has scored against a very, very different product of goaltender that he is trying to score on. He
and
is
brand of hockey.
He's playing against the best players in the world. These defensemen are not like they were back in the 80s. And it's no disrespect to anyone back then. I just think that the level of player that Alex Ovechkin has to compete against to try and score goals is extremely difficult.
Totally agree with you. And that's always been my analysis of Alex Ovechkin. It's harder to score goals today than it was back in the 90s and the 80s and especially the 70s. Number one, the goaltenders are more athletic. They're bigger. They're stronger. They are in better shape. There's better equipment. You have defensemen that are better skaters, that are longer, bigger, stronger, more athletic, better shape, faster. So to score goals in the National Hockey League right now, and Alex Ovechkin being able to do that still consistently the way that he has been unbelievable. And I have said publicly, I think Alex Ovechkin is the best goal scorer I have ever seen. I think the best goal scorer that the league has ever seen, regardless of Wayne Gretzky's record. And I'll say that until the end. Now, one thing I think is going to really hurt Alex is the amount of games that were missed during COVID. He missed 15 games at the end of 2020. He missed 32, 34 games in the shortened season in 2021. Those games are going to be crucial because it is so close, nip and tuck, whether he's going to be able to get there. What does he need? Another 100 and
no,
170. He needs another 170.
730. He's at 737 right now, and Gretzky was at what?
894. So he needs 147 goals.
Okay, he's 147 goals. He's 35. You would think he's going to play probably till he's 40. So he's got 5 years to score that. I mean, it's very, very possible. There's no question.
I think he's going to play until he beats that record.
You know,
I tell you right
hey,
now,
listen,
Alex Ovechkin
I'm gonna throw some,
right now could score
in there.
47 goals. That means he has 100 goals to go. And if he has to score 20 goals a year for the next 5 years after that,
you can just put him on the power play one-timer. He'll get you 12 a year.
I'm
15 a year.
I'm gonna say two things one thing that you said, Riv. You said that you've loved his game ever since he came into the league. Well, I haven't. I've loved his goal scoring. But Alex Ovechkin, for his first 8 years of his career, was a lazy defensive player. He would
cookie monster. He was a cookie monster.
Yeah, he would turn over the puck. He would lollygag back defensively. He wouldn't move his feet. And then when the puck turned over, he was on the offense and he was getting in position to score. Okay, that's being a young player. When Alex Ovechkin became a captain and learned how to play the right way on both sides of the puck, became responsible, became a good leader, that's when they win a championship. And he was still able to score goals at the same time. That's when Alex Ovechkin became one of my favorite players of all time, because he became a complete player. But let me tell you this. But Alex Ovechkin wouldn't be chasing Wayne Gretzky right now. He would be chasing Jaromir Jagr if Jaromir Jagr didn't take 3 years off and go over to Europe and play in Czech again for 3 years. And with how unbelievable of an athlete that Jagr is, he's still playing in Czech. Not that he would be playing in the National Hockey League, but he's second all time, and he missed 3 entire years of National Hockey League play. To me, I think Jaromir Jagr is the best point producer I've ever seen. But the Ovechkin Gretzky goal mark is going to be a lot of fun to watch over the next few years.
And
So
I love how you're talking about how you did not like how Alex Ovechkin played in his first number of years, but he seemed to kind of figure it out. He got some good coaching, okay, that wanted to change his game. But when you look at his first 5 years in the National Hockey League, he had 52 goals as an 18-year-old. He had 52 goals and 106 points in 81 games. The next year, he had 46 goals, 92 points. The next year, 65 goals, 112 points. The next year, 56 goals, 110 points. The next year, it was 50 goals, 109 points. This is all in his first 5 years.
You ready? Okay. Are you ready? Are you ready? Look at his years 2011, 2012, right around in there. Look at his plus minus.
Yeah,
he was a minus 34 one year.
He got criticized the 35. 1 year he scored 50, did that dance on the hot stick, but he was like minus 38 or something that year.
Yeah.
And he took a lot of heat for that. And
Picture that. Look at how many points that you score in a year and you're minus 35. That's fucking hard to do, man.
There should be an award for that. Most points and highest plus minus.
You're talking about his plus minus, okay? He was minus 35 in 1 year, but he was minus
hold on.
4 years out of 17.
Let him finish, Riv.
But hold on. But he went from minus 35 that year, and something sparked in him because he was a plus player in the next year.
Yep.
So something happened in that time frame that said, "Hey, I can't do this anymore." That's why Washington won a Stanley Cup.
Fair enough. And I'll end this topic with this question. And it's not because I feel like you've avoided it. The conversation just hasn't gotten there yet. But just answer the question for us. Just appease me.
Yeah.
Do you want him to pass Gretzky's record?
No.
Okay.
I love Alex. He's great. I do love him. But I don't know. There's just something about the aura of Wayne Gretzky that I want to stay there. Sorry.
I wonder if that record, do you think Gretzky really wants Ovi? Like, he's classy, he's sitting there saying like, oh, it would be great for the game if he passed it. And I mean, I hear him on is he TNT? Is he TNT or ESPN? I can't remember.
TNT.
They've hired so many guys. I can't keep track. But I heard him, and he always is very diplomatic, and he always says very respectful things about the league. Even though I think he's kind of been hosed in hockey a little bit over the years, but that's a different story maybe. But do you think?
How the hell has he been hosed in hockey? He is like
nobody
royalty in hockey.
Nobody wants their records to be broken. I don't give a shit how humble you are in the press.
100%.
Okay.
I had a record for the World Juniors, right? For the World Juniors for U.S. players.
That's
that lasted 24 years, right? And then that Schrader kid from Minnesota
last year, right?
No, he broke it in 2014 or 2015.
I thought it was. So it is rather
recent. But Trevor Zegras since did again.
Okay, that's what it was.
But I had the record for like 24, 25 years, more, almost 30 years almost, it seems like. Well, I didn't want him to break my record. So, and I was happy for the kid. I'm like, way to go, Schrader, you broke my record. Congratulations. And I said, but in my mind, I'm going, fuck, man. I said, he was in 3 tournaments. I was in 2. He should have an asterisk next to his name. He has more points than I did, but I played less games.
I have the Ridley College middle school high jump record, and I wonder if it still stands. I broke the record by like 0.01 meters, and it was like half a centimeter. And I nicked the bar, and the thing was wobbling, and I got off the mat before. It didn't fall or anything, but anyway, that's the only record I have. Anyway,
it's a record.
It's a record. I got to check and see if it's still in the book. There aren't very many, elite athletes.
So to answer your question,
I am at Ridley.
to end the segment, I love Ovi. I love him to death, but I'd love to see Gretz hold on to that record.
Okay. I like that answer. I would have liked either answer, but I like that answer. So let's talk about, do you think there'll ever be another 200-point player as McDavid?
100%.
Yeah, you think so? Really?
I think so. Have you watched this kid? Have you watched him play
absolutely.
on a game in, game out basis? I've watched probably 5 of his 7 games or 5 of his 6 games that he's played. Every single time the guy's on the ice, something happens. Every time. And that's, to me, that's the mark of a superstar. When something happens offensively, every single time you're on the ice. And this kid puts up points like nobody that we've seen in a long time. I mean, last year, 100 points in 50 games. He's got three in his last 2. He's a point producer. Playing with Draisaitl, I think he will reach the 200-point marker at one point in the next 3-4 years.
Wow, really?
You know what? I would love to see that, because everybody loves goals and they love dynamic play. And he is the pinnacle of dynamic play with his speed and his skill set and what he does on the ice. He is mesmerizing. I just don't believe that Connor McDavid can get to 200 points, because I think this league is the strongest it has ever been in the history of the game. The 6th defenseman.
Let me ask you a question. Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? Because that's a good point. I think the game is as strong as it's ever been. But do you think the players are as good as they've ever been?
Yes.
So you think that this generation right now can match our generation with Hall, Gretzky, Messier, Lemieux, Coffey, Yzerman, Fedorov, Mogilny, Bure? I can go on and
yeah, you're leaving guys off because there are so many.
So many.
Yeah.
I don't think
you know what, JR?
I don't think this league has
forgot of Mike Gardner.
As many as we had back in the 90s. So,
Yes, but I still think the product of the player.
No, I'm saying there's 2 different things.
Yes, they are 2 different things. And I think I think what you're saying, JR, is that maybe top to bottom roster wise now, 4th liners to 1st liners, there's more overall talent. But back then, there were a lot more stars dominating the game.
Superstars.
There were
megastars.
Think about it. There were 20 guys getting 100 points.
Yeah, megastars.
20.
Sure.
We are lucky now if we get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That's because of parity. That's because of the parity, right? That's the parity. That's because
that's what I'm talking
the difference between 1st line players and 4th line players are not the difference in physical talent, maybe more brains and decision making.
Here's where I'm going at this, JR. Connor McDavid plays against the best defense pairing and the best line on every single team.
Yep.
And if that coach in Edmonton can find a way to get Connor McDavid on against maybe a 3rd line or a 4th line, he has a better chance of scoring against those lines. But here's the thing. The 4th and the 3rd lines in the NHL today are really, really good hockey players.
Yeah,
They're not the same as what they were back in the 90s, where, you had, a 4th line that typically would not be able to play against a Jeremy Roenick. Jeremy Roenick gets put on against a 4th line. It's like ding, ding, ding. Yeah. The light's going on, the red light, the crowd's up.
It's so true.
Jeremy Roenick is going to absolutely dominate the 3rd and 4th lines that he played against back in the day.
It's a
Connor
great
McDavid
point.
is in a
I would have
situation-
liked to have seen you in your
situation.
prime take a run at Mayor Coletta Peters, but you know what? Well, you know, we'll have to just use our imaginations for that one.
You know, I was watching Edmonton against the Coyotes the other day, and we knew it was going to be a blowout. But the Coyotes did as much as they possibly could to shadow McDavid. Right, every time McDavid was on the ice, somebody was fouling him. If the puck came to him, somebody was on him. Guy still had 2 goals and an assist, regardless of who was watching him. And you're exactly right, but the like I said, the difference of the players that put the big points on the board and it's their hockey sense and their decision making and being able to see the ice. Because listen, there are some third line players in this league that can skate like the wind, that can stick handle like through in a phone booth, that can shoot the puck like as hard as possible, but they're dumb as a bag of rocks and can't get the job done because they make every wrong decision in the fucking book. Whereas Connor McDavid makes all the right decisions, sees the game differently. The whole thing opens up and he sees the game different rather than in a tube like some of these players that have absolutely no hockey sense. And that's that separates the Connor McDavids at the level that he plays.
So we're talking about Connor McDavid. Could he be the first player to get 200 points? And I don't even know who's the last player to get.
He's the only one.
Gretzky.
He's the only.
There's only one that's ever done it.
Mario
No, he didn't. Mario had 199. He missed some games though, but he had 199.
Wow. I think Connor McDavid's the only player, the only one.
Do you know how many points he's on pace for right now?
208.
So he has 5 games played, JR. He has 6 goals and 13 points. He's on pace for 210 points.
He has 48 points in the last 17 games going back to last year. Think about that. 48 points in the last 17 games. This guy's not slowing down, man. And with barring injury, he could do it.
That's crazy to even think. Do you think
I would be
they'll
shocked.
win a cup there?
Absolutely shocked.
Do you think they'll win a cup? They're undefeated right now.
Will they? They have the possibility to. Now, I'm surprised that they're not getting as much attention this year. Everybody's been complaining how bad Edmonton's been over the last 5 or 6 years, how they can't win with all the first picks that they've had going back 10 years. But now they're undefeated and nobody's giving them the props that they probably should deserve. I think they're a goaltender away because, Koskinen I don't think is the goaltender. Mike Smith is too old to be the goaltender. I think if they can find a quality younger goaltender and probably a stronger fourth, checking line, maybe one more defenseman, I think they could, in the next few years, they can battle for a Stanley Cup when you have McDavid, you have Draisaitl. Whether Nugent Hopkins is left his prime or not, he can still be effective. You have Yamamoto, who's still real good. They have quality players on that team that I think they could win one. Like
this year. See, I said to you guys last night in our text message, I said, I never see them winning in Edmonton. And that's not because I don't want to see them win in Edmonton. I just think that you got the money tied up in McDavid. You got the money tied up in Draisaitl and Nurse now. And no, you have to, they brought in Zach Hyman, but they paid him a ton. And you got to pay your guys internally to stay there, like a Nugent Hopkins. I just don't see them being a draw enough. Is McDavid, I guess my question is, JR, if you're a free agent.
Is Zach Hyman getting it done? Is he getting it done?
If you're a free agent, JR, if you're a free agent, if Edmonton has McDavid and you can go there for a chance to win or go somewhere else to a team where you'll have a chance to win too, are you going to Edmonton? I'm not trying to knock the market. I'm not, because they're a legendary market. But I'm saying, are you choosing as a top-tier free agent to go to Edmonton to play with McDavid or go somewhere else?
I think that's a good question. It is a really good question. I think it depends on where you are in your career, right? If you're a little older player, I think you'd be more willing to take a chance to go play with a player like McDavid, watch him play every night, support a guy like that, have a chance to do that. I think if you're a younger player that has really good upside, has a good earning potential over the next couple of years, you probably don't go to Edmonton. And I'll say this, and I don't care whether people don't like it, but if you're an American kid and you have a lot of talent and you're looking to make some money, you're not going to go to Edmonton and live in Edmonton just for a chance to win a Stanley Cup.
And I appreciate you saying that.
If you're a Canadian and you're from Alberta, you're from Saskatchewan or something like that, yeah, you would take that chance and go there. That's your lifestyle. Living in Edmonton's a great city, and it's a fun city.
Yes.
But it's not like an American city, and it's very much different lifestyle than an American city, and it's cold as fuck up there. So it's a lifestyle too. So I think a lot of things go into that decision.
So cold. Like, I mean, people down in the States, like, honestly, like, you're walking around, you got your toques on, your winter jacket on. I'm going to tell you, it's a different type of cold when you get up in Edmonton in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And the wind's gusting. It is bone chilling. I'm gonna go play for less because I can win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, well,
Fuck that, man.
You know what though? It's funny. If I were the GM of the Oilers, I would be looking, and it's not against American kids, because I say this about football and the Bills. Like, why would you draft a player to come play for Buffalo that's from Florida or plays at Florida? Like, to me, it makes no sense. They're gonna be miserable right out of the gate, right? Yeah. So if I'm the GM of Edmonton, drafting
unless you're a Kachuk. If you're a Kachuk, you play for anybody. It doesn't matter.
Well, but they're a different breed, though, right? They're
exactly correct.
But I mean, I'm looking at like the Scandinavians, your Swedes, your Finns, your Russians too, and Canadians to load up that roster because they're already used to the.
Oh, by the way, if you're from Sweden, right? Beautiful country. That's exactly where you want to go. You want to go right to Edmonton. Just go lay your ass and freeze in Edmonton to try to win a Stanley Cup for less money. Yeah,
they are just going to throw this out there. The mind's like I got the hamster wheel going right now. You say Kachuk, I say yes.
Yes.
100%. Calgary has been interested in Jack. Boom shakalaka. Let's go.
I almost went to Calgary before I went to Phoenix in 2006. I was talking to Daryl Sutter on the phone. I was getting ready to sign, and I hung up the phone from Daryl Sutter because I was getting a call on my phone, and it was Gretz. And Gretz asked me to come play in Phoenix, where I lived, and I had already played. And if Gretz asks you to come play for him, you probably should come play for him. So literally, I was getting ready to say yes to go up and play in Calgary for Daryl Sutter. And I had to call him back and say, sorry, that was Gretz. I'm going to play in Phoenix.
Did he handle that?
It was crazy. It was, he understood. I mean, Daryl and I are great friends, and we've been great friends for a long time. And, he understood. It was pretty cool.
Tell me this, and this is what happens when we talk, we find another conversation. What was Gretzky like as a coach? Like, why wasn't there success? Why wasn't there success there? Because I know guys loved him.
Yeah. Oh, loved him. Like, playing for Gretz as the person, awesome. Like, because he was one of the guys, and he treated the guys like he was still a player, right? And it was great. He was not the disciplinary one. He let that to other people. But it's so hard when you're. It's so hard when you are Wayne Gretzky in general, with your lifestyle, with where you have to go, with people, telling you to come here, asking you to come here. The amount of time that you need to be a coach is drastic. You got to be in it all the time. You have to be at the rink. You have to be watching tape. You have to be set, planning new strategies, game plans, game in, game out. Gretzky didn't have time to do that.
So he couldn't separate being Gretzky the Empire and Gretzky the coach. I can't imagine how hard that was.
For sure.
Yeah,
and I don't think anybody could have, but everybody expected Wayne Gretzky coach to be the same as Wayne Gretzky.
It'd be like asking Michael Jordan to become a coach.
That's not going to happen. And him and I, even though we respected each other, we were friends, we locked horns like crazy, because you guys know when you walk into the room. Now, I'm towards the end of my career, just came off an awful year in LA. I was in the best shape, probably the best shape I've been in a long time coming into Phoenix. And I was still on the fourth line. And sometimes I was that guy that was the fourth guy on the fourth line, right? That always pissed me off, something fierce. So sometimes we had the four lines on the board for practice. And then we had the two guys, me and somebody else, that were up in the corner, like take take some shifts in on the
You don't have to
drills,
explain
right?
it to me. That was my life in the show.
Okay, well, listen, we all went through it, right?
I know.
So I would go into practice and I would stand at the blue line with my arm against the boards like this, just stand against the boards while the guys were doing their rotations through and Gretz would be standing at the red line on his stick, watching the 3-on-2s go and the breakouts go, and he'd look at me and goes, "JR, are you gonna take a shift?" And I said, "Gretz, you gonna give me a line?" And he goes, "Maybe." And I said, "Well, then maybe I'll take a shift. But if you give me a line, I'll take a shift. If you're going to put me up in that fucking corner again, I'm just going to stand here and just watch." And he's like, "Whatever, JR, whatever you want to do."
And that
How, like, I don't understand why you're on the fourth line in the first place.
They just didn't give me the time of day. They didn't give me the opportunity really to play fourth line, play third line. I mean, played fourth line most of the year. When players got hurt, I went up to the third line, but I just didn't get the shot. I think they signed me more to try to get people to come into the stands rather than have me play. That was my
JR, like your first year in Phoenix, you had 29 goals and 69 points and 72.
Yeah, but this was in 2006 when I went back to play after my LA year, which I was terrible.
I played junior with a guy that played one game in the NHL, and he played one game in the NHL, and it was the first game of his career, and he was on your line. His name was Brad Ralph.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
I played in Oshawa with him, and I remember he got drafted by Phoenix. Well, Phoenix then, Arizona now, Phoenix, and he was a second rounder. I think he was a second rounder. Might have been a first rounder, but anyway, he played one game that year, and it was on your line. I can't remember who your line mate was, but yeah.
I remember that.
We also wanted to talk a little bit of Olympics before we let you go. And Riv just actually asked you how many Olympics did you actually play in?
So I played in two. I played in Nagano, which the Canadian media totally screwed the United States by saying that we wrecked the Olympic Village, which is total bullshit.
What happened?
But we did.
Can we get the true story on that? Because I'm going to tell you that painted a terrible picture for American hockey.
Yeah. Well, listen, we did not play well. We embarrassed ourselves on the ice. I think we finished 5th or 6th in the tournament. Throughout the whole tournament, when we were in our dorms, in our rooms, literally the furniture broke underneath us. We'd be sitting watching television or playing cards, and then bam, the chair would disintegrate right underneath where we were sitting. And these chairs and this furniture, literally we had to pile up into corners, and it looked like it was that we were breaking stuff and all. Regardless of the fact, there was a player that got a practical joke played on them earlier in the week, and the guys are going to get them back. And all that was is they went into this room and they unloaded a fire extinguisher on him while he was sleeping. Now, if you've ever seen a fire extinguisher, yeah, it makes a lot of mess, but it dries up and it goes away, and you can clean it up with a vacuum cleaner. And the goddamn Canadian press made it sound like we literally tore down the whole dormitory in the Olympic Village to make us look bad. It was not bad at all. So, but
who was it? Okay, I guess you guys are sworn to secrecy.
Yeah, those will never come out publicly who did it. But I mean,
so
we had a very mischievous crew at the U.S. For the U.S. teams for many years.
I cannot believe you're saying
this is why everybody doesn't know, because there's probably 13 guys on that team that it could have been, but we won't. Well, I don't think anybody will ever.
It's amazing that you say that story. It's like I'm laughing inside, because I had the same thing happen on a team that I played at in the World Championships. That we were in the same situation, that we were in a certain city, and we had to travel to I can't remember what Turku, Finland, where the finals were, where the semifinals were, and we had asked a player on the team to come out, and he had kind of said, "No, I'm going to get to bed early," and his wife was in the room also, and the whole shooting match. And a couple guys off the team went upstairs and unscrewed the keyhole or the eye hole and stuck that little nozzle into the eye hole and just gave
And let her go.
just a little bit of the juice, and the fire extinguisher exploded and filled the entire room. It was like a white winter wonderland. And now the cop cars are showing up, the fire trucks, the whole shooting match. We sprinted. I was not part of it. I was just kind of like a second.
Oh, not you.
Oh, not me.
No
No
way.
But we had to hide under desks in rooms in this hotel room to wait that all the police officers left and the whole shooting match. But
we used to hide under desks and behind curtains for different reasons, Riv, but that's okay.
yeah, there you go.
You know, so there you have. Now you can say that Canada's no different. Like, it's just hockey. That's hockey guys being hockey guys. I mean, my God, how many times have we seen someone's bedroom in the hallway?
Let's go back to the question whether the Olympics and the NHL guys going back there, because I don't know about you guys, but the fact that they took the last Olympics off in Korea, and now they're going back because it's in China, and the National Hockey League is trying very hard to get their footprint into China. They have people over there creating hockey leagues and teaching people in China to play hockey. And now the NHL is going back, which is probably a worse situation than what South Korea was back in 18. Makes me kind of wonder, whether everything that they do is it an all money decision? Because before it was the time zone, whether people are going to be watching, the health of the players, breaking up the season. This is a total money decision by the National Hockey League to me.
I will say this, and I agree. I think there has been from numerous points, players, league, lots of contradictions when it comes to the Olympics. Even last year, the players, whining about condensed schedule and all that stuff. Well, it's never going to be more condensed than it's going to be this year. And now you want to go to the Olympics. I mean, because it's all about negotiation tactic too, right? Some of it now. Oh, there's obviously a lot of pieces in between there, but I mean, but I understand what you're saying, but are you in favor of players going to the Olympics? Do you like the experience for the players? Do you like the disruption for the league? Or would you rather just see them do a World Cup every couple of years where they get to keep the revenue for it? Like, you're a big business guy when it comes to
I would rather see a World Cup, to tell you the truth, in the summer, because these kids are playing and practicing in August anyway, in September. You could have a really cool World Cup in September and allow these kids, especially from Czech Republic, Finland, Sweden, Russia, that love to play for their own country and battle for their own country, give them that opportunity. I would rather see that, although the Olympics has been so historical.
What's the pinnacle of hockey?
Listen, I think the pinnacle of sports is the Olympics, right? It's the best players in the world of that sport. There's no question. So that's what I've always loved about the Olympics. And I love the fact that, listen, if you're going to have the Olympics, you got to have the NHL players there because they are the pinnacle. But, if you're going to make the decision to put them there, keep them there. Don't take them out one year, put them in the next, take them out one year. Make your decision and keep it.
Like, listen, I mean, I look at the Olympics as the greatest honor. It's the pinnacle of hockey. And you look at the NHL and you're talking about, them trying to dive into the market in the country of China. I mean, there's 1.4 billion people there. I mean, the market is huge, and to have the Olympics there this year, I think you're selling to to an incredible market
Yeah.
to people around the
Well,
world.
it's something that the National Hockey League needs right now because the revenue is just taking a shit
right.
kicking
That's
over
right.
over the last couple of years, and the players, like we talked about last week, are in dire straits because they owe the league $1 billion. And if they don't find a way to increase their revenue, National Hockey League players are going to be playing for free in 2 or 3 years. So getting that Chinese money is big for them. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of people that are around this country right now, especially around the United States, are saying, who gives a fuck about China? You know, they have sweatshops, they have all these things, and they're against China, and they don't give a shit whether the National Hockey League gets that Chinese money. But it's very important to the National Hockey League on their bottom dollar.
Well, the NBA did it. The NBA did it,
Yeah.
and they killed it. The NBA exploded when they took the bull over to China.
But they also take a beating. They also take a beating from the media and from a lot of people by supporting a country that doesn't give human rights to their citizens, and that's always going to be a debate, whether you like it or not. There's no right or wrong to it. It's always going to be just a problem. Always.
Interesting take. Very, very interesting take.
I'll take that take.
It's a fascinating take because it's one that I think is overlooked, because when you think sports, you don't always think those things. You don't think about, you don't. I mean, you think about just revenue and where it's coming from, and you don't think about all the.
Well, that's what the National Hockey League thinks. They think only revenue. Then, whether they have to or not, that's all they think about is revenue.
Well, what about the other 95% or 90% of players in the National Hockey League? I think they're voting for it too, because they get that 2 weeks off. It's the best. That's the best break of all time. Is when
I think the players are definitely in favor of it. That's for sure. I agree with you. I agree.
I was able to be in the league.
You talking about Bahamas in February? Are you shitting me? Let's go, man.
That was some of the best conversations.
I can still remember the workout regime they gave us. They printed it out daily. You had to ride the bike for 45 minutes. You had to do leg workout. You had to do bands, this, that, and the other. What?
Yeah, I know, right?
I came back. It was like I had been off for 2 years. I mean, with how much fun I had.
Some of the best conversation was leading up to the Olympic break. Coaches always had to say, keep your head in the game tonight. You know, I know everyone's talking about where they're going and where
they're going. That's right.
What you're doing.
I'm
get
going
to hear
Bahamas,
about everybody.
Go to St. Thomas. Go to Cayman Islands.
We had a guy go to Fiji. It's like I was in Jersey. Someone went to Fiji. I mean, it's like, it was unbelievable. Yeah. So last question we'll ask you before we let you go. We're very grateful for all your time.
Hold on 1 second. Just pause that for a second, okay? Just pause that for a second.
Yeah, you got to order.
I got to see where the fuck I'm going.
You got to order a cheeseburger in the lineup there?
No, I got to see where I'm going. I don't even know what the
I'll hit pause on time. All right, last question for you. And, as we talk about the Olympics, so what would you rather have? Craig says it's the pinnacle, and JR, you say, I don't know if you said it was the pinnacle of hockey, but what would you rather have? A Stanley Cup or an Olympic gold?
Stanley Cup. Not even a close second. Not even close, I think, in terms of, because it's what we battle for day in and day out. We see the people in the cities that root for us. We have a relationship with the people, with the city. We have a relationship with those players for 82 games plus playoffs. It's so much more of an intimate celebration and victory for a Stanley Cup than I think it is for an Olympic medal. Yeah, you have an entire country celebrate, but it might be different in Canada. But in America, you're not going to have as many people as you think celebrating an American hockey gold medal as they probably would a basketball gold medal. I think that's kind of my take on it.
I think if you were to ask a European player, it might be a different situation.
100%. 100%.
Is I had Martin Rosinski on my team back in, I think it was like the late 90s, where the Czech Republic ended up winning the gold medal. Dominik Hasek was a superstar, and he they won that. They all got on a flight. They flew directly from where the Olympics were. I can't remember where it was. They flew.
That was 98.
98. Yes. 98. Okay. And
when
they flew home.
When we fucked up the Olympic Village, Czech Republic won the gold.
There you go. So they were dialed in, and U.S. wasn't. But anyway, they got home, and I'm going to tell you right now, looking at the people, like, I mean, hundreds of thousands of people showing up in the streets. It was the parade was off the chart. It was almost like every single person in the entire country all funneled into this parade, and it was something spectacular. And if you look and talk to those European hockey players, I think it's a little bit different for them. Now, some of them,
by the way, you're 100% right. And there were a few players that I played with that were Czechs at the end of the year. They already had their plane tickets made before the playoffs ended because they wanted to go back and play in the World Championships more than playing for the Stanley Cup. Like Roman Cechmanek, Robert Reichel, these guys were they were out. Their paycheck stopped. So was their brain. I'm going back to play for the World Championships.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
And it's a different mindset. I don't, I mean, where here in North America, in Canada and the United States, we value the ultimate prize as winning the Stanley Cup. And I'm not saying that the European players do not want to win a Stanley Cup. I think a lot of them do, especially in today's game, today's society. But back in the 90s, if you were to ask, a European hockey player from Czech, Slovak, Sweden, Finland, Russia, would you rather win an Olympic gold medal for your country or win a Stanley Cup? I think the majority of those people would say, I would like to win it for my country.
100%. You 100%, I think, are right. I totally agree with you. But, we'll see what happens this year. It's
you hear that, Petey?
Well, he said
JR's agreeing.
He said it a lot.
100% agreed.
I agree.
I've heard
I think
JR,
we should end the show right there.
I've heard JR agree with you up to 1,000% today. Go ahead.
I agree with him there, but I gotta bring up one thing real quick because we talked about it. Who's going to get the first pick in next year's draft? Is it going to be the Chicago Blackhawks or the Phoenix or the Arizona Coyotes? Because none of these teams can seem to get a win. Chicago Blackhawks can't even get a lead in 6 games. Do you know how hard it is not even to get a lead in a hockey game in 6 games? These are 2 teams that I've played for and I care about immensely. And I'm sitting here with a bag over my head every time these teams play because I don't want anybody to see me rooting for them. But Jesus Christ, can you get out of your guys' own way finally and win a hockey game already?
Can you tell me right now how the heck the Chicago Blackhawks are winless with Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane and DeBrincat and all of these players? You have Seth Jones,
Fleury.
Hey, we talked about this the other day. At what point, how long does Jeremy Colleton have? Is he going to be on the hot seat? Because that's not a rebuild roster.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. They got Kubalik. They got to break it. What you said, they got they got some really good young players, and I will tell you this: they are changing a lot of things in that organization right now. Okay, in the management, they are not going to take time to change things on that bench. Jeremy Colleton right now probably has a 10-game buffer that if he doesn't win 5 or 6 games out of the next 10, he's going to find himself looking for a job because the Blackhawks aren't going to take much more of this when they are changing a lot of things within their organization.
And rightfully so after some of the stories that came out over the summer.
Yeah, exactly. Another reason why they have to change the narrative that's going on there. Because let me tell you something, they're getting the boo birds. There's the stadium is a third, half full. People are not going to take this kind of play and pay the amount of money that these ticket prices they're asking for, and losing hockey games. It's just not going to happen. They've shown that before.
Out goes Colleton, in goes Babcock, you think?
Oh, fuck. God damn it, I hope not.
Oh, okay, not a Babcock fan. Okay.
Oh.
All right. Well, coaches change, apparently, JR. Coaches change.
The only reason, but you don't regurgitate the shitty ones. And the only reason I would like that is because I would love to see Mike Commodore's Twitter page.
Oh God!
If that happened, that's the only reason I would like that.
Oh boy!
So
yeah,
that's
JR,
it.
you're the man. Today was unreal. It was so much fun. Look forward to next week. There's always a ton going on that we can discuss, and enjoy your golf game. Enjoy your golf game today.
Hey, sorry I had to change the venue, just to make sure that I got the whole hour in. But
oh my God, the venue doesn't matter. It's the venues.
I get to go. I get to go to Toronto. I get to go to Canada. So I'm gonna go get a PCR test because I love going there. So
don't be so hard on Canada. It's not a bad place. What kind of car is that, JR?
I just said I love going to Canada. I get to go to Canada. So I'm
I detected sarcasm.
Is there going to be golf involved with that Canada visit?
No.
It's November, Riv.
No.
So what? What are you talking about?
No.
It's November.
JR is going to golf in the snow if he has to. He'll just use yellow ball.
Okay.
That's right.
You don't understand what you're dealing with here.
You guys are the best. Love you.
See you, Jay.
Thanks, JR.
That's a wrap on another episode of After the Whistle. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, After the Whistle, and at Craig Rivet 52, at the Instigator 76. And you can find us, as you already know, on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, and anywhere else where you can get your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to spread the word.